Hi everyone, my name is Christian. I am a front-end infrastructure engineer at Canva, and I will be talking to you about single-page applications. So a single-page application, or an SPA, is a kind of web application. It gets its name from the fact that only a single HTML document is downloaded when you visit the site. This is in contrast with a regular website or a multi-page application, which downloads a new HTML document for each of the pages that you visit. The way an SPA updates what you see on the screen is via JavaScript. When you click on stuff, JavaScript just replaces all the content on the page. If you need to fetch new data from the server, say a notification, you can use the XML HTTP request or the fetch API. So what are some examples? Some examples of single-page apps are Reddit and Facebook. The new versions, the old versions are not SPAs. Some examples of multi-page apps or just regular traditional websites are Wikipedia and Amazon. So why would you use an SPA? The biggest draw for an SPA is the faster post-load performance. This makes them feel a lot more like native applications, and they're able to achieve this by not needing to download new documents each time you visit a new page. This is usually because the data that you need to render a new page is already in the JavaScript bundle when you've downloaded it. You may need to download extra bits of data from the server, but you can get around this by prefetching the data. With these two things combined, you have quite often instantaneous transitions between pages. So if they're so nice, why would you not use an SPA? They're quite hard to get right. I'm sure you've used a website that's built as an SPA that you did not enjoy using. It's quite an engineering feat to build a website that has all the benefits of an SPA and all the benefits of a traditional website. A few big problems that people often run into are search engine optimization, performance, and browser support. This isn't an exhaustive list of problems, but it's the most common ones. So first, let's talk about SEO. For a lot of businesses, SEO is pretty critical. If you can't find their website when you're searching for the keywords that are relevant to their business, they're not going to do it very well. So you can imagine a widget manufacturer has a website where they sell widgets. They really want that site to show up if someone is searching for, say, buy widgets online. Beyond being linked to a lot, which is one of the ways Google and other search engines can tell if your website is good, they also need to be able to understand the content on the page. The problem with this when it comes to SPAs is that more often than not, you're sending an empty HTML document to the user when they visit your site. So there's no content in that site, so you can't get an understanding of what the website is about. Luckily these days, at least the Google bot, which is the Google crawler, it's how they understand all the websites on the web, can execute JavaScript. So even with an SPA, we'll be able to get some information, but there's no guarantee that it will A, do that correctly compared to a regular browser, and B, it's just slower. It takes more time. So you'll be punished for this because users don't like slow websites. Therefore, Google doesn't like slow websites, so they'll push your website down in the rankings. I hinted at this before, but outside of the post-load performance, the performance of SPAs is actually worse than regular websites. Once it's loaded, it will be much snappier, typically. We'll talk more about that in a second, but it's the loading that will get you because there is so much more to load. Usually you just download this HTML document, but now you have to download all this JavaScript to see this page. And not only do you have to download the JavaScript, you also have to parse it, you have to compile it. Believe it or not, JavaScript is compiled to some extent, and then you also have to run it before you can see anything on the page. Another point to make is that while it might seem snappier on your fast and new computer or fast and new phone, not everyone has a fast and new phone or even a fast and new internet connection. So even the post-load performance, the snappy clicking around that you had while you're developing the website might not be the case on someone's older device. And in a 1-2 blow, also the loading performance will be worse because of the parsing and compiling of the app that needs to happen before it can run. The third problem that comes up a lot is browser support. Browsers are just not designed to support SPAs out of the box. It gets better all the time as they become more popular and people are demanding these features out of browsers, but it's still not perfect. This means that you often end up needing to rebuild basic browser functionality inside of JavaScript. The problem with that is that it'll often be not correct because you haven't had all the experience that, say, Google has, that you don't have the millions of users, the thousands of bug reports, and also will be slower just because JavaScript is slower than compiled language like C++, which browsers are often written in. Navigation is a classic example. To write an SPA that behaves sensibly, you need to re-implement a lot of the basic browser navigation functionality inside JavaScript. So, how are SPAs built? You can actually build SPAs with any JavaScript framework, or even without a framework at all, if you really feel like getting into it. Unsurprisingly, the most popular JavaScript framework at the moment is ReactJS, and that's why you're being taught it in this course. Routing is, as I mentioned before, one of the most key parts of building an SPA, and the most popular React library for doing routing is React Router, a really well-named library. So I've got a little demo here to show you how to use React Router in a really, really basic way. First, let's take a look at the app component. This is the source code and the rendered view over here, by the way. So app component that's being rendered, that's the whole page. You have a navigation component, you have a body component. Before we look at those, we'll have a look at the imports. Importing React, very normal. Now we have these two extra imports as well. The first is route and switch from the React Router library, and the next one is this link component from the React Router DOM library. You don't need to worry too much about the difference between these two libraries, but the short version is that you can use React Router in other places as well, like React Native, so in native mobile apps. The implementation of some things, like link, differs between those environments, so you need environment-specific implementations of those components. So in this case, link needs some specific browser features, but route and switch are the same everywhere, so they just come from the basic React Router package. Okay, first let's look at the navigation component. That is that part of the app there. It is just a list of links, essentially. Like this one here goes to home, this one goes to the profile, yada yada. This interesting one down here is for a page that doesn't exist, and I'll show you in a sec what that does. Then we've got the body, which is the lower half of the page. We've got settings, profile, this top level page with the exact keyword, and this top level page without the exact keyword. So the way this works is the switch takes this path parameter here, looks at all of the routes that are inside it, and picks the route that matches the most closely. So in this case, this is the path here, the current path. That's not a good match, that's not a good match. This is a good match. It's exactly the same as this path here. So we render the homepage. Now we can click on the profile link. You can see that takes us to profile there, which renders this route. Settings, renders this route. And then we can click the page that doesn't exist. You might notice that this key here, which is up in the URL there, does not match this route. But still, the route is being rendered The reason that is because it's a best effort match. So this is a prefix of that whole path. So this gets rendered. This is how people often implement 404 pages. So, you know, if someone visits a page that doesn't exist, it's just total nonsense. I can do a little demo there. Same thing, total nonsense, doesn't show anything. Cool. Don't need that. That's, yeah, it's just the same code there. Demo, already done that. And the end. Cool. Hope that helped.